Hi, Steve here, and welcome to this overview on Layhorse Bot version 1.21. This is an improvement or upgrade on the first one we released earlier in August, and I'll take it through as a brand new bot, so if you haven't seen it before then you're not missing anything. So when we open the bot, we're presented with this view here, and the first things to notice here with Lay 1, Lay 2, Lay 3. These are three tabs that enable you to run three separate strategies over any country that's listed up here that you choose, and to the exact criteria that's set down here. So whatever I set in Lay 1 will only affect Lay 1 here, and etc. in 2 and 3. The next thing to notice is across the top we've got 1 to 20. These are individual tabs, if I open one here, that record the betting, and it depends on how many of these you've got ticked as enabled. I run 10, but how many you've got ticked enabled. The bot will bet through each one of these, and each, you can see here, Lay 1, Lay 2, Lay 3, these are the individual strategies. Each one will go through and has its own staking within its own tab. So for example, I've got 10 tabs enabled. You can see tab 11 there is not enabled. So this means that at any one time, it won't happen, but it has the facility to actually be holding 30 bets there, because tab 1 can be taking Lay 1, Lay 2, Lay 3 simultaneously. Okay, so first of all we have, if we go back there, Lay 1, Lay 2, Lay 3 is the strategies, and then the ones across the top there, these are handling our actual staking. Okay, next thing you'll notice here, we've got auto reload, which should be ticked all the time. So this means that every hour the races are updated, so if times change on the racing. I must also apologise if I sound a bit froggy. I've had this cold for about 2 weeks, and it has delayed me making the video, but I've just got to get it done so that we can get the new version out there. So basically, let's have a look what else is along the top there. We have the green software manual. Now this, if you click on this, this will take you to the manual and also the members page, so it's the most up-to-date information if you go through the software manual. This is Betfair Help, which takes you to Betfair for any help you may need. Show the market. You can see in this grey area here there's nothing showing. If you click on show the market, which I'll do now, and then click on this Wangaratta race here, you can see it brings up the market. But one thing you'll also notice is that the API request, although it's quite low now, as it gets close to the race, that will jump considerably. Now there doesn't have to be anything in this box here. We don't need to see what's going on. The bot will still manage to work out all its calculations without showing the market. So it's suggested that you don't have that ticked, so that this area is just grey and you're not eating up data. Okay, the next thing you'll see is your wallet, which only one wallet now for Betfair. Tells you how much. The first figure there tells us what's in the account, and the second figure tells us how much we've got in. Like if we had bets, that would be minus this figure here, so it would show you how much if all our bets lost, how much we would have left in the bank. There's no bets, as I said, at the moment. Profit on Lay 1, Lay 2, Lay 3 here is reflecting the strategies that we talked about. You can see here we're 4 points there, 2 points there, and we're down 35 points in strategy 3. It's a strategy I don't recommend. I put it in there just so I could get some data in here to show you as we go through. Definitely don't recommend laying the third favourite. Okay, and then the commission. Why is this one at 8? It's at 8 because this is doing Australian, New Zealand racing, and the commission Betfair takes is higher in Australia because they have to pay the racing board permission to use the copyright of their racing fields. If you're doing just the UK or Ireland, you'd have 5 in there. Okay, so that's it for the. Oh, one other thing here. Lay 1R is the Lay 1 races, and the venue. So this shows you the venues that this bot will be betting on today. Lay 2 is just a repeat of Lay 1, just reflecting on the strategies there. Now if we had, say in Lay 1 here, if we had allowed non-handicap unticked, then if there was any non-handicap races here, they would be greyed out and the bot wouldn't bet on them, as you can see there. But if we go to Lay 2, we still see, because Lay 2 doesn't have that unticked, we see all the races that the bot will be betting on. Okay, allow them to refresh again and they'll come back. Okay, let's move over to the criteria tabs. Now this is where you set your information on what you want each criteria to be. In this one here, Lay 1, we've got New Zealand and Australia ticked, so it will only look at markets in Australia and New Zealand. You can tick all of them if you want. We don't recommend USA because the market's poor liquidity in that, and small fields a lot of the time in the USA. However, it's up to you. Bet market. This is the market you want to bet in. You can bet in win market or place market, and selections. You can bet right up to the 8th favourite. Okay, so that gives you the selections. We've got this one at the 5th favourite. And then for the 5th favourite, the minimum price is, it must be better than 8 and no worse than 12.50 in this case here. I mean, you make the settings to what you want. So if the 5th market favourite is between 8 and 12.50, and that's on the lay prices, then it will look at making a bet. But before it does that bet, it must consider, we've got a new option in here, minimum price first favourite. Now, if the first favourite is not between, I'll put in here 1.5 and 3.25, then it won't place the bet. Now, the reason that the first favourite is put in here, I mean, you can have 0-0, you know, and it doesn't even look at the first favourite. But when you're betting races like the 4th and 5th favourite, you really want a horse in there that's got a strong chance of winning. Often we see in races, you see three equal favourites at 6-1 or 7 in decimal. Well, that means that each of those horses has got about 14% chance to win. And if the 5th favourite's at 8-1, then it's got 11% chance to win. So you can see what I mean in that it's more of a raffle. There's no real strong standout horses in that race. Whereas if we had this criteria 1.5 to 3.25, it means there's a firm, the public think there's a firm favourite horse that's got a good chance. If the horse is at, say, $2, then that's, and its probability has got 50% chance of winning. So you can imagine if that's at that, and we've got 3 other horses before we get to the 5th favourite, then there's some real chances that are very much stronger than our 5th favourite. So that's why the minimum first favourite is a good option to include. In the time to bet, well, we're always betting before the off, and I've here got 5 seconds. Minimum amount matched, I've got 10,000 there, solely because this is New Zealand and Australia. If we go too high, then we'll miss out a lot of races. It's up to you. If you're in the UK, well then obviously the races, you're looking at 100,000 minimum, something like that. Runners, how many runners are in the race before the bet will be put on? Well, we're saying there must be 8 runners and a maximum of 25. Okay, you can change the figures what you want, but no point having the 5th favourite and having minimum runners of 5, because in small fields, there's not a true pace, and often there's an upset. So no point tempting fate. We leave it at 8, minimum of 8 runners. Once we've now the next thing we're moving into here, this is our staking. This next area here is our staking. We're saying stop at a profit per race. We're looking at winning 10p a race. So if you were wanting £1 a race, you would put in 1 here and tick continue. Whereas when that race has been run, and if we get our target, then we want the bot to restart again, start betting. If you had that unticked, as soon as it hit a 10p or £1 profit, it would stop, and that's not really what we want to happen. Stop at a profit each tab. If these are ticked, then this figure means nothing. This figure means you, for example, might want to say, look, I only want to win £10 today per tab. Well, you leave that unticked, and as each tab got to £10 profit, that tab up here, that tab, whatever tab hit £10 profit, it would stop. It wouldn't take any more bets if that's unticked. If it's ticked, then it just ignores that figure. These are, for people that know the bot, these here is we're getting into some new territory again, in that we have a stop loss at liability staking. So this means if I put 12 in there, if the bot goes to place a bet and the liability is going to be over 12 for that tab, it will not bet. It will restart. Okay, so you know what you're up to going to lose before the race starts. So this is the liability one, and this one here is the old original one, or the staking. This one, if I put in 10 here, it means we can lose a lot more than 10 because that's how much stake we're going to put on, not how much liability or risk we're at. So if you're going to use liability staking, only one of these will be in play, and it depends on how you tick the buttons. So we've got continue and restart on the stop loss one, and on the stop loss staking we've got continue with no restart. That means the bot is going to ignore this figure. It is only going to keep reading this figure here, and so we're using effectively the liability stop loss. If we wanted to use the staking, then we would click continue no restart, which would mean it would ignore that figure, and we'd have to have this one ticked here, continue restart, then it would only be looking at the staking figure. Okay, so one or other comes into vogue. You don't have both in action at the same time. Distribute loss among all enabled tabs. We used to have another one here, only amongst profitable tabs. We removed that, and just sticking with distribute losses among all enabled tabs. What does that mean? It means if we have a losing bet, and we go up to tab 1, say we had a losing bet, this one has a losing bet here, then the losses are distributed over the how many tabs you've got enabled, in our case 10. So you'll see our distributed loss here is 0.37 on lay 3. Only lay 3 will be carrying this loss. So we go through them, and you can see it varies a little bit through. Okay, so we know at any one time at the moment that the third lay has got a loss carryover of 0.37, so the bot will be trying to recover this loss as it goes through each of its bets. Lay 1 and lay 2 has no loss carryovers at the moment. So that's what that does, so that's always got to be ticked. Then that's the end of the staking there, and it's all explained in the owner's manual once you have the bot. We've got the ability here to go into non-handicap races and handicap races, so you can choose what you want to do there. Allow harness racing. If you're betting Australia and New Zealand and you want harness racing, you tick that. If you only want to bet harness racing, then you must tick allow harness racing only and allow harness racing. Okay. Mexican wave. If this is ticked, and we recommend it should be ticked, it means that as the bets come, it goes from tab 1 to tab 2 to tab 3 to tab 4, and it goes right through to tab 10, and then it reverts back to the first tab again. If it is unticked, if tab 3 is available, it will place a bet on that. If tab 3 is not available, it will go to 2. But as soon as tab 1 becomes available, it will in turn come back to here again. And it's not really what we want to do, because if we have a loss, we want it spread out over these tabs, and we want to be able to recover them. So please always have Mexican wave ticked here. Profit delta is if we decide that after a losing bet we still want to get a target even though the bet's lost, we can put in, say, 10p there, and on a losing bet it will still add 10p to the recovery stake. If this is nothing in there, then we have a losing bet. it will not add an additional amount of money to win. It will still go to recover your losses, but it will not look at adding any extra as far as recovery goes. Okay, so that's and we have start, stop. Make all your changes and then push start. If along the way you've realised you haven't done something and you want to change it, please push stop first before you make the change. Also, check that there's no current bets, because if you push stop when there's current bets in here, then they will not transfer into the results here. Okay, log out means you can log out of Betfair this way, or clear means it will clear all the staking and that for lay 1. Okay, it won't affect lay 2 or lay 3, it will only affect the tab that you push the clear button on. As we go through lay 2, lay 3, the same layouts, but you can have this setting here for Australia and New Zealand, and you might want slightly different odds for UK and Ireland. Well, then you could have UK and Ireland here, Great Britain and Ireland, ticked without these two, and it will run it in Ireland at slightly different odds, or whatever you choose. You might want non-handicap. So as I said, each of these 3 tabs up here are completely independent of each other here. We have our current bets, which will show here. It will show the bet ID, the type of bet. Now that means if it's a lay 1, lay 2 or lay 3 bet, profit and loss, match prices and accumulative profit. Next thing we look at is cancel bets, if there's any cancel bets, and then our results. And you can see all the results down through here. And what enables us to do is we can click on here and export this into Excel, so we can save the bets in a spreadsheet for later use, looking at odds, looking at things that we may want to adjust in our strategy going forward. The log, this is a blank one, but it's very important. This is where you can see what is happening and what the bets are being made, etc. What I'll do is I'll just bring up another one that has some logs in it. Just one moment. Okay, in this one here, you can see here these are logs. So as the bet comes, if we have a look here, we can see it's waiting for a race to start, and then we can come on here. It's telling us it's checking if the market's qualified. It tells us the selected favourite, the 4th favourite. It tells us the horse's name, which is Barefoot Baby. It tells us how many runners we've got. There's 9 in the race. It tells us the market matched is 227,000. So whatever currency your Betfair account is in, that's what we'll be showing here. That's for lay. You can see here lay 2 and then lay 1. So it goes to check the 5th favourite is go final, and it goes right through and tells us the prices. And it tells us why it's not betting. It's telling us here that the favourite, we've got the favourite here between 1.8 and 3.5. This is a different bot I'm running and testing. It tells us here that the favourite price is 4.5. So it is outside the range of 1.8 to 3.5, and therefore it's not placing the bet. So it pays to learn how to read the log, because if you're not getting some bets for a while, you can have a look in there and see what is happening and why you aren't getting it. Okay, we're back on the main on the current one I'm showing you now. So that is how the Layhorse Bot works. So it has plenty of features that you can use. There's no compulsion to use the 3 tabs up here. You can use 1, 2, 3, or all of them, or only one of them, or the same strategy over different countries with different minimum prices, maximum prices, etc. So that is under the hood of the Layhorse Bot. It must be obviously run on a Windows operating computer or VPS. I run mine on a VPS in London, and that's the bot for you. So thanks for looking under the hood, and we hope you enjoyed it. On behalf of Michael and myself, Steve, thanks for watching this video.